Hi everyone, my name is Traian C.Boitan, known in social threads as C.Boitan, and I'm here to share a little bit of my anatomy understanding. Today we will speak a bit about the principal movements of the scapula, but you always have to know that these movements are combined with the rotation of the humerus in his joint and can bring a lot of variety to the movements. Another thing that you have to consider when you pose the arms of a character is that the starting axis of the arm is the joint of clavicle with the sternum, this one. It's important to know the bony landmarks of the body, and here in this example I've marked with red color. I've marked them with the red color. But today we will focus only on the clavicle, acromion process, and the medial border of the scapula. We will start with a pretty natural pose where the medial borders of the scapula are usually parallel between each other, like in this example. The first movement is scapular adduction, where the shoulder blades, known as scapula, are close to each other, like in this example. The second movement is scapular abduction, where the shoulder blades are spread and gliding on the thoracic cage, like in this example. And the third movement is scapular elevation and scapular depression. And the last is scapulohumeral rhythm, which is given by the rising of the arms, usually in the first 30 degrees of the arm inclination, in the reference with the spine. The movement of scapula, it's usually zero. Yes. On the 90 degrees, usually the inclination of the scapula is 30 degrees. Okay. In the 135 degrees, it's the inclination of scapula. It's 50-55 degrees, and in the last part, 180 degrees of the arm, the scapula reach the normal maximum inclination of 75 degrees. First step before starting the sculpture, I will try to recognize the bony landmarks and to mark them with red, like in the example that we had before. Here we have the acromion process, and we cannot see the end of the medial border of the scapula, but we can recognize that where this muscle, the hero muscle of the back, which is the teres major, it's starting, and it's in this point. But normally, scapula, medial border of scapula, it's here, underneath. The 7th cervical vertebra is here, and the column spine. Now that we have the most of the bony landmarks, we can start trace the muscles. First I will trace the trapezium. I'll trace it. As you can see, this one is the trapezium. Trapezium is continuing until here, but this is the tendon part. Trapezium. Muscle fibers are like this. No, sorry. We're following this direction. Teres major. Usually it's not visible, but I think in this photo it's visible. Is the teres minor here. Anyway, this muscle is a little bit underneath, and the last muscle of the scapula, it's visible from the scapula. It's infraspinatus, which is attached here on the joint of on the top of the joint of the scapula. On the top of these muscles, let's say, is the deltoid. Here we see the posterior part of the deltoid, the medial part of the deltoid, same as here, posterior part. And the medial part. Here we can see the mass underneath of the serratus anterioris. Is this one? But this mass is hidden underneath let's say the biggest. It's not the biggest in mass, but it's biggest as surface of covering is the latissimus dorsi, which we can see it here. His insertion here. And it's going over everything, and it's covering everything, all the back. These ones are the lumbar muscles. And gluteus maximus. You can see it here, but we'll not focus on this today.